can analog horror survive Doomguy from the original classic games? Well, in this part 2 of my Can the Doom Marine from Doom Survive analog horror video, I'll examine a couple other popular and well-made analog horrors to see if the creatures could survive a run-in with Doomguy. After looking and examining the classic retro Doomguy in past videos, I will instead look at what the demon-killing soldier was up against when he was in Hell. Starting with the Doom's version of Hell, it is a place that drains the vitality, soul, mind, and willpower of any who are not welcomed, thus making them into demonic creatures. It is also very hot in there, and there are millions, if not billions, or even trillions of demons, all with different tiers. First are the low-tier demons, which they alone can take out a whole specialized battalion of top-tier military men from an advanced Earth military. Then there are the middle-tier demons, which they have power that eclipses the lower demons by a large margin. And then the high-tier demons, which stand at the top of the demonic caste system. These demons are able to lay waste to hyper-advanced sci-fi civilizations with ease, but the strongest demons are the Titans, which are able to terraform planet because of their hell and argent energy coursing through them, and they are also very large. Now, I could have a whole video explaining just what these demons are capable of, but let's just keep it simple. Now, this hell and all of its demons were hunted down by Doomguy, which again is said to be a seemingly normal marine, but in reality he is a primordial, but let's just leave that part out of the video to make it a little more interesting. So with just comparing hell to Doomguy, you can see that he was a pretty strong fella. Quite strong, in fact, that I might have to handicap him a little more for this video by taking away any power-ups, which are also canon. Now, these power-ups that I took away from Doomguy give him some abilities that increase his combat capabilities, making him so strong that he can just punch demons into mush. You know, the ones that can destroy several large civilizations. And for Doomguy's arsenal, he has quite a bit of weapons that range from conventional firearms to sci-fi based weapons powered by the much hotter than the sun, damn near infinite power source of argent energy, which make these weapons have plasma so hot that it can actually burn the demons which live in hell. You know, the really hot place known for being very hot. So let's also take away most of those weapons and just give them a pistol for long range, a shotgun for short range, and a chainsaw for even shorter range. Now let's move on to the analog horrors. But before that, please subscribe so we can get the channel to 50k subs. I mean, they're just a few thousand more. Also remember to like the video and share it so more people can see just how insane Doomguy is. Basswood County is an analog horror where the people are terrorized by weird creatures which are able to mimic others, either by killing them and taking their likeness, or by just morphing into them. They do this so they can hunt more people without so many problems, because their disguises allow them to hide in between the people. In this series, there's not too much information on what these things are and what they are capable of, but considering the similarities to another analog horror creature, which I've examined, which is the alternate from the Mandela catalog, it would be safe to assume that they share similar strength feats as the alternates. This would place these creatures' strength and durability in between wall level and small building level, with combat speed on par with fast vehicles. But how would the Basswood County creatures fare against Doomguy, with no power-ups and just his most basic of weapons? Well, they would get picked off quite easily. This is because they are weaker than low-tier demons in Doom, because each fodder demon is around the strength of a militia with tanks and specialized weapons, and the Basswood County creatures are not to that level, at least from not what is revealed. So a confrontation would be where a Basswood County creature goes and tries to ambush Doomguy. The creature may get the first strike, but Doomguy will then retaliate with a swift punch or shotgun blast to the creature, effectively putting it down or at least crippling it. Now, even if he was surrounded by these creatures, Doomguy would just blast and chainsaw each creature because, again, he's faced several demons in hell all at once, and there's not as many Basswood County creatures as there are demons in hell. But what if they tried to get away? Well, they kinda couldn't. This is because Doomguy at his slowest speed scale is still faster than the rocket shots and even the shots from the BFG, which are quite faster than the Basswood County creatures. So Doomguy could hunt them down even without the need of guns. So the Basswood County analog horror creatures don't survive Doomguy. Woodlands National Park is an analog horror that takes place in a national park in Washington. In this park, there are a few anomalous creatures that have killed and terrorized visitors and park staff for a while. To try and combat and also hide the many deaths, the park rangers have been employed to help people survive these creatures by giving them knowledge. Or if they do die, they just try to cover up the incident. Creatures that I will include in this video, there is the Wendigo, Walker, and Cave Critter. The Wendigo is pretty much the modern folklore interpretation of the Wendigo, which has the antlers and giant build. The Walker is a 12 to 45 foot creature that is tall, slender, humanoid, with skin that absorbs light, which makes it practically invisible at night. Lastly, there is the Cave Critter, which is a monster with a great climbing ability because of 6 appendages that exclusively lives in a cave because it does not like sunlight or light. When it bites people, 45% of them will just die, 45% will turn into a cave critter a couple weeks after the bite, and 10% will walk unscathed from the bite. So how does each one fare against Doomguy? Starting with the cave critter, it is easily defeated because it is the weakest of the bunch, being only a little more capable than the Basswood County creature, just because it is a bit more agile and has a nasty bite. Now if Doomguy is bitten, which most likely will happen, especially with a couple of them, then he would still survive. This is because willpower, which is a heavy plot device in Doom to explain just how Doomguy, a seemingly normal person, is able to practically survive everything even though he is, again, just a normal marine. For the walkers, Doomguy in this scenario would have some trouble finding the walker because of the light absorbing skin. When he does, or what will most likely happen, a walker tries to attack him, Doomguy will just shoot it and tear it apart with the shotgun and chainsaw. If the walker does get the first hit, then it wouldn't be too much more damaging to Doomguy compared to what the demons could do. Now for the Wendigo, which if the Wendigo is exactly or even very closely similar to the folklore myth, then it is actually quite formidable. By taking the strength of the folklore Wendigo, it is beyond the low tier demons and even maybe somewhat rivaling the middle tier demon. Somewhat. With the added ability to go incorporeal and travel through as a spirit. It can also only be killed by attacking the heart with silver, or it can be disabled if you rip out the heart and just keep it away from the body, without even having to need to use silver. Now, Doomguy does not have any silver in his arsenal, but he has 2 hands which love to grab the hearts of millions. So at first the Wendigo gets some hits in, but eventually Doomguy will get a hold of the Wendigo and start to attack it and rip it apart. If the Wendigo does not escape before Doomguy gets the heart, then the Wendigo will be put out of commission. But if it is able to go incorporeal and escape, then it could possibly survive for quite a while longer as Doomguy tries to hunt it down. Doomguy would only really be able to kill it if he found out about the weakness, so the Wendigo is able to survive quite well, as long as Doomguy is kept in the dark about how to kill it. So do the Woodland National Park creatures survive Doomguy? Well, for the most part, not really, unless you count in the Wendigo, which could be incorporeal forever and could just kind of run away and guard its heart. Greylock is an analog horror in which strange abstract creatures in thought forms are terrorizing the town near Mount Greylock. Now, apart from the thought forms, which are creatures manifested through strong emotions, will, or thoughts, that then become more vivid and physical as time goes on, there is not many other described creatures in this analog horror. Some other entities which appear are the skeleton-looking creature in the security tapes, the tall humanoid that is described by these fellows when they were at Mount Greylock, and the cultist home invaders. Now, these creatures could all be thought forms or just anomalies that result from Mount Greylock. So for the video, I will just consider them different entities. The tall lanky skeleton guy is an anomalous creature that seems to be able to merge different organisms and even make doors disappear. Not much else is revealed about this creature, so let's just say it has similar strength to the others, which is a safe assumption because most of the creatures from analog horror and even in this list scale to about this level, of being around wall level to a small building level or even a little bit more. Then there are the thought forms, which seem to be ghosts which can manifest through many different shapes, sizes, and strengths. Then lastly for the list, there are the cultist home invaders, which are sometimes alluded to having more anomalous abilities, but on the surface level they just seem like your standard murderous home invader guy. So how do each of them fare against Doomguy? Well, starting with the home invaders, they are easily killed. This is because they seem to be more similar to a normal person when it comes down to combat ability and power. Sometimes they have close range weaponry, and sometimes they have guns, but all in all they are not able to really do much against Doomguy, which even at his weakest is still a superhuman marine that can tank imp fireballs which are hotter than the sun. Next up is the tall skeleton flesh creature, which for this video I will say is the same type of creature as the one seen by the fellas near Mount Greylock. This is a very agile and fast creature with some minor reality changing abilities, as seen when the door disappears and reappears. Against Doomguy, this is not much of a problem because Doomguy destroyed a titan with casual reality destroying powers, which is the icon of sin. Now for the amalgamation ability of this creature, this ability would most likely not work against Doomguy because again, one of his major hacks abilities is infinite willpower, which nullifies other hacks abilities even before he became the Slayer, which is how he survived in hell for so long. So Doomguy, by virtue of willpower and lead, is able to overcome tall skeleton guy. But what about the thought forms? Well, since they are described as manifestations coming through intense emotion or will, a thought form might form from Doomguy, but not all thought forms are dangerous or evil. So because this entity is very abstract, I would just say that it's a Doomguy win, because maybe Doomguy manifests a thought form that goes and destroys other thought forms which are evil. And even if his thought form is evil, Doomguy is proved to be strong enough to fight himself and still win. So Greylock analoghorror mostly does not survive Doomguy. Why? Well, he's able to clear the other entities, and he would be able to handle a thought form, even the one created by his own anger and will, if it was evil, simply cause willpower. So does analoghorror survive OG retro Doomguy from the original games, without power-ups or most of his arsenal? For the most part of it, no. This is because most analoghorror creatures are around the same level of power as an imp, give or take. Of course, there are outliers like Monument Mythos and Unorthodox Kitten, which are very formidable, but for the most part, a grand majority of analoghorror does not survive Doomguy.